Hi everyone. I know it's been a while since I made a video, but YouTube gave me like a bit of a ticking off. They gave me a red flag, like a first warning thing. So I think I had a suspension for a couple of weeks. So yeah, but hopefully it's lifted. If it has, then you'll be seeing this video on YouTube. So um, I've had loads of ideas, rushing around my head, and there were many videos I could have made, but I'll make them later. But this one is could be a really important one. Um, I've been kind of thinking about this for over a month now, but I was on Facebook and Thomas Sheridan, um, he posted something about optogenetics. Somebody that he knows apparently had told him about it, and that it's on the cards connected to the needlecraft. That's all, that was in the post. So obviously it's down to Mr. Sheridan to make a video on that. I'm not trying to step in his shoes or anything, but I think that this is pretty mind blowing um, if it's in fact true, and well, it's going to prove that you know, truth is stranger than fiction, as they say, or at least as strange as fiction, um, because it's going to tie in with all the movies, that I think are some of them are like fake kind of ET kind of psyop. At least that's what they're kind of seem to be expressing to me, But let's get to this video here. The topic. Um, yes, optogenetics. I've done a little research in this. Like, yeah, I'm no expert. Probably neither are you, if you are. But yeah, just encourage you to do your research, all that shenanigans. And I'm going to try and word this carefully as best I can. Um, Three people that came into my mind when I was thinking of making this video, and one of them is William Cooper, and the other one is Jim Keith. Both of these men are now dead. Um, they died, I think, in the late 90s, early 2000s. Um, and they died, a little suddenly, shall we say. You've probably heard of them. Um, Bill Cooper wrote Beyond a Pale Horse, um, and I had that book once. And Jim Keith wrote a book called Mass Control, um, Engineering Human Consciousness. That's one of the books he wrote. Um, Another guy I like to bring in is Barry King, and he's still with us. So both those other two were American. Barry King's English, and I will bring those people in a bit later in the video. But first off, let me just um, start with the whole. I've made my notes like I usually always do. I need to, so I need to kind of like try and piece this together as best I can, because I think there's a lot in here that I need to go over, or there is. Um, let's let's take a look at the whole um, UFO, alien, ET abduction phenomena, if you want to call it that. That's been happening for decades now. I'd say, like in people coming forward and you know speaking about it. How long? I'd say mm, maybe the 80s. It was kind of very like well, there were lots of researchers then, and then there were lots of cases, but because you had Whitley Strieber, didn't you? Who I believe has been affected by this. I believe he was a test subject as well. That's another person, that I can mention briefly as well as those other three. There's lots more, but these are the people that come to mind. Um, yeah, you had Whitley Strieber document his experiences, and then other people come forward. I think, didn't they? Got more confident. But maybe this has been going on I don't know, since the 60s, 70s, I'd say 50s. Oh yeah, I think it's around about like the 50s. Um, and what I think, I mean, this is a theory. Like I'm not when I'm saying this, I'm not pushing out the whole let's call it like the whole paranormal supernatural element of contact and experiences with non-human entities, because I do believe in that, like like you probably do. I mean, I've had little mini experiences and stuff. Sure, you have, right? So I'm not kind of like throwing that in the bin. That's still relevant to me. The whole fairy abduction thing. I mean, that's still you know that's a separate thing than what I'm going to say here. Um, but yeah, looking at the whole ET abduction thing, people claim, let's say they're abducted by aliens, they're taken on the ship, they're shown things, told things, etc., and they are told that the ETs tell them, we have chosen you because you're special, so we're going to do these special experiments on you. We want to inject you with some stuff. We want to extract stuff out of you, but we also want to monitor you, and so we know where you are because it's a big planet. So we want to put some chips in you, um, various parts of the body and in the brain, up the nose or whatever. They've had these strange experiences. I remember reading, years ago, all the different experiences that people have had with this. And then it's very common for these people to bump into the military, like very soon after their experience, and the military are going to them. Um, we saw a UFO close by you, lots of them. What happened? You need to tell us. We are um, research. We're the government. Work for the government. We're researching about ETs, um, and it's very private. But we need information of what they look like, how many were there, what color were their skin, what did they wear, did they have any special badges, what craft did they, what shape was the UFO that they came in, how many were there, what did they tell you, etc., etc. And then some people have even had, I believe, experience of being chipped by the military themselves. Maybe I think they're saying, no, we need to track you. And then you have these, even, I mean, I'm not, you know, shunning him or saying he's completely fake, but you have to be skeptical sometimes. Simon Parkes just came to mind, where he said that the government are always trying to play catch up with the ETs because the ETs are step ahead technology, so their surveillance is ahead of targeting various civilian subjects and chipping them and doing their thing, and then the government's trying to catch up. They've reversed engineered the technology, but it's kind of not as good. They're trying to figure it out more, and they're trying to, step in the ET shoes, but the ETs are too advanced. Now, look, I'm still open to a possibility of real abduction with, I don't buy the ET. I'm more into what Thomas Sheridan said, the whole fairy type thing, and they may have some technology. But let's just put that aside. As I said, listen to what Simon Parkes was saying. It seems to me that the ET agenda is a smokescreen by the government to experiment on the general public in various ways, random like civilians. Now they probably have done it with, well, I think they have, like, I think William Cooper comes in. People that come from a military background, a generation intergenerational, and they end up being guinea pigs, unfortunately. Um, and they may be looking not for people that are psychically in tune for this as well, intergenerational, right? Um, so Duncan O'Finian, who I believe is an amazing guy, comes to mind as well, very sincere. Um, uh, but I think that um, a lot of these abductees aren't necessarily deeply psychic or anything like that. That's why they're chosen. Some of them, if you notice, they're just living ordinary lives, and they have their life just torn apart, torn asunder. They can't make sense of it. Like I saw, it was actually Simon Parks was actually a guest there. It was a one of these UK. I can't remember the name of it. Very similar to Miles Johnson and his bases. It was a workshop of people just openly talking about their experiences. And there was a gentleman there. This was the UK. He experienced massive missing time, um, memory wipe, and then other memories come through, and then UFOs, lots of them, and a non-human grey or something like that experience. It shook him to the core, and he was broke down, and he was weeping because he just turned his life inside out. I think that these are ways for the government working with the military to do experiments on people, right? Um, I mean, that's not surprising to us. Um, one of them, or a lot of it, is not just tracking and surveillance. It's mind control technology they want to test. And I think that maybe from the 50s, up until for decades, one of the main things that they were doing is chipping. Um, Meanwhile, something else, let's say, could have been perfected, but they wanted to get chips randomly into people, and they wanted to see if they worked. And I think that what they wanted to do was induce um, a type of mind control where you could wipe people's minds, have them have missing time, and you could implant fake memories. You can induce intense, let's call it hallucinations, where you can actually make them believe that they have been, you know, pulled out of their houses and abducted by aliens and put on a spacecraft. You can induce this inside their heads. You can make them see it, or they can with this technology. Um, Now, it may be that they can do that without chipping people. They can do it by beaming, frequencies and stuff like that. But I think they needed an interface. Uh, they needed something inside the person for the subject to really interface with this type of technology they were beaming down. So the chipping happened a lot. Whitley Strieber explains this situation terrifying when he was in bed with his wife, and he sensed something very, very strange was happening. Something wasn't right. He came to awake. This is roughly, he couldn't move. He was paralyzed, which is what many of these subjects say. They're paralyzed. They can't move. They're terrified, and then they're seeing these things, and it escalates from there. But this time, he was paralyzed, panicked, sensed danger, and he said a man came into the room, not an alien, a man, and it inserted something. I think it was either up his nose or into his arm or something, and he believes it was a chip. It was very painful, and his nose bled, I think, for days afterwards, and he got headaches, and he didn't feel the same. But it was some kind of chip. But this was a man, and he believed it was some kind of, agent working for the military or something like that. But this is what a lot of these subjects experience: nosebleeds, sickness, nausea, um, um, maybe even cancer. A lot of them had cancer. One subject, I believe it was a voice to skull technology. I think he believed the government was doing this. I remember reading lots of files I had, and you can do your own research, as I said. One of them was a subject that was hearing voices in his head that wouldn't bloody stop, like schizophrenia. And the more he challenged them, the more aggressive they got, saying we will never switch off. We were watching you all the time. Blah blah blah. I think he tried to surround himself in some kind of metal or something like that. Hence tinfoil hat. I don't know, but he tried to block what he thought were the frequencies that these people were beaming in secretly. Right, it makes sense. He complained of getting very, very hot, like he was being irradiated. That's another thing. He was believing that maybe certain people believing that these frequencies can create cancer in their bodies. They can, let them live or die. They can heal them or they can kill them and things like that. Many people have said that they've been very, very sick, almost cancerous, or immune deficiencies, and is another one I've heard. And then all of a sudden, they seem to be miraculously healed, and they say, oh, it's the aliens, or it's the military, they've healed them for some reason, or something like that. So I think that this is a very deep, like aggressive, intense form of mind control that they were testing. They may have been looking for several things. Does it work? Are Who's more sensitive to it? Is there a standard average of believability where we can make people believe what we've induced in them? Do they really believe that they're being abducted, or are they skeptical? On an average, how many people believe what we have programmed them to believe? Side effects, negative side effects, illnesses, cancers, blood problems, etc. Is there an average robust ability, or are there lots of people that die from this very soon, too soon? Lots of things like that. Now, another thing that comes to mind on the whole fake ET smokescreen is and I think I mentioned it before, is a documentary called Hyper Reality by the BBC, and I think it's Adam Kurtzfeld or something like that. Maybe not Kurtzfeld, Adam something. And towards the end of the video, he mentions that that the whole because this is the time that X-Files came out. He brings this in. The whole ET mystery connecting to the UFOs is a complete psyop to basically justify the appearance of advanced technology that the government has that they're testing, and it's unavoidable. It's going to be in the air as UFOs, unidentified objects. These, not just these advanced craft, but these types of like balls of light that can move around silently and things like that. They were saying that they needed a smokescreen basically, and they used the whole ET thing, and they would prey on people who were, let's say, a little gullible and a little caught up. There's nothing wrong with having an imagination, but you get these people that are obsessed with one thing. They're obsessed with UFOs and obsessed with ETs. They target those people, the military, and convince them, yes, they exist. How many have you seen? They see, why are they contacting you? They play into the fantasy, and they get these people more excited, and then they maybe hand them a few files. Did it look like this? Did it look like that? And it convinces not only them personally, but it convinces the general population that, oh God, there's an secret ET kind of agenda, or a secret ET. The government have, been in contact with them, and they're not telling us. They're being dishonest, and they have reverse engineered technology, and that is what we're seeing. It's all ET. Without it, the government wouldn't have done it. Couldn't do it. That kind of spin. Now, yeah, let's. Where shall I continue from here? Oh yeah, another film just comes to mind is Close Encounters of the Third Kind with Steven Spielberg. If you watch that, if you haven't already, that to me it rolls like a whole giant government fake ET psyop. When you actually watch that, it's actually it's almost like a physical actual test run of how they would have wanted things. But right at the end, when they see the ET, somehow they would have oh yeah, so hand over your powers to the government and the ETs, blah blah blah, New World Order kind of thing. Problem, reaction, solution. But yeah, it comes to mind. But let's go and look at William Cooper, who wrote the book Beyond a Pale Horse. He's a very interesting man, very brave man. He's one of my heroes, really. Yeah, he absolutely is. I think I have theories on him. He was again, military background. Worked for the government. Was a fighter pilot, and then he went into the Navy, where he was working and in submarines. He saw a UFO, his first UFO, when he was in the Navy. got curious, and then at some point they gave him a load of UFO when he signed this Secrecy Act to not say anything to general public. They gave him a load of files on UFOs and these craft, and the message was that yes, they have ET technology, and they've had for a long time, maybe close to 100 years. And well, they actually, he said, I was recently watching. I've watched them before, but I think it's a 4 hour video of him talking about his experience. He's talking about his book Beyond the Pale Horse, what's in it, and they said they gave him dozens and dozens of files, not only explaining the current situation with ETs and their technology, but events going back like thousands of years, documenting these ET contacts with humans, the craft that they had back then, and everything, all running through to the present day. And they said this ET phenomena has been around thousands of years, and yeah, the military have kept it secret from the general public, and you must too. But we're giving you these files in trust. That's what he said. But I think there are kind of, I think that maybe two things happen with Bill Cooper, and I think yeah, he does explain this in his talks and about his feelings on this. I think that first off, he bought the ET agenda thing, um, that it would blow the general public's mind if they actually told them about ETs exist and the government's been in contact with them, blah blah blah, copying their technology. But maybe, and he said that could have been what the government wanted. They wanted him to go out and tell people about this against their instructions, but they wanted him to. It's they tricking him, so that he plants the seed of this fake ET agenda into people's minds, into the American public, and into the world. That would help them. And then maybe halfway through, he thought, hang on, this could be one giant psyop. To it could be a project that the governments have mustered up to, usher in the New World Order to create this, dystopia that they want. They need a fake threat, a fake enemy, so people hand over their powers, etc. That kind of thing. Problem, reaction, solution, right? So I think at one point he figured that out because he mentioned that he got a warning, like very bad one, not to keep his mouth shut. He was had a car accident and he had his leg amputated, and he was in the hospital. And the government agents came into the hospital. They were standing over him, and they said, "This isn't an attempt on your life. We won't bother with that. We'll just kill your children and your wife. But this is just a little warning. But if you don't keep your mouth shut, we'll do it. Are you going to keep your mouth shut?" And he said, "Yeah, absolutely, I will." And then time went by, a few years, and then he kind of went public again. And maybe that warning was he understood about the fake ET smokescreen, and he was really telling the people this is a fake event they want to create in your heads to get you to hand over the power for this New World Order thing, right? I think that is probably what killed him, and a very similar thing I think happened to Jim Keith. Yeah, another thing with Bill Cooper is he said that I think it was the 70s or 80s. He said they have technology that he knows men that get up to work, and they work for a government, secret projects. They get up to work, they go to work, they come home, and they remember nothing, like about the day, nothing, except getting up, and then coming home. So they have their memories wiped. He said there was technology decades ago to do that. So that's right on subject. But just going through my notes here again. Yeah, I think Bill Cooper kind of swung both ways. I think he still partly believed in the ET, but then he still believed the government was using it as a fake psyop as well. So he believed in maybe some kind of phenomenon there, but he stuck with his guns. He actually at one point was very actually disrespectful to David Icke. He's very angry at him because I believe he was saying he was promoting disinformation about this reptilians this and reptilians that. It's all fake um, scam by the government to for them to do what they're doing. It's a psyop basically. So he was very pissed off with David Icke. So that's interesting too. Um, Jim Keith, um, this is very interesting. He was bang into um, the idea of the government using secret mind control technology, beaming, using frequencies to target the brain and change people's behaviors. He was in one talk, I think, yeah, he was saying, you could induce riots, you can make people angry, aggressive, passive, and they won't know about it. And he believed it was actually happening. In the 90s, they had this technology to kind of do this. Um, and this is an interesting one as well. He said that he saw a grey alien. Now this is really interesting. He actually saw it, but I think he believed he was either a hologram that was pure technology that was fake. It was created, by frequencies or whatever, or it was actually inside his head. So it was a form of. So he was a mind control subject for that brief time. They basically channeled his brain frequencies, whatever, and they induced this hallucination. That's very interesting because if they're doing this to random subjects and they're believing the whole ET smokescreen, but he isn't, and he's figured it out, that makes him a very dangerous man. He was very public about this, so I think that he had it sussed. Again, like out of the percentage of people, there. I reckon there are many genuine, like non-human contact. Let's call them interdimensional entity experiences, fairy abduction that's been happening for thousands of years. But I don't believe it's ET. Um, but many now, probably from the 70s, 80s onwards, maybe even half, maybe even more than half, are these mind control, government-induced technologies that they've kept secret, right? I think that's what Jim Keith figured out, and that's why we lost him as well. He disappeared suddenly. Um, Another hero and a very smart man, I think, too smart, because if you have too many people like that, then you're going to, you know, jam up the government's agenda. That they're going to have to think of another way, uh, which I think that they have. I mean, they have many things on the cards, but um, so let's look at the chipping thing, right? To get a chip into someone's head, it requires well, you can either do it by hook or by crook, right? It's either going to require the subject's cooperation, or you're going to have to do it dishonestly. Hence the ET smokescreen. Now, they may, I think they may have planned. That'd be good if we can chip the whole population, or most of them, a large percentage of them, and then they're mind control subjects. But problem is when they are deceased, you'll have to do it again to the next generation. Again, it's probably something that they realised there's not enough people that would actually consent to it. So I think that they were working on nanotechnology, nanochip type technology, or something like that at the same time. Perhaps they were working on that all along, and they never had an agenda to chip people. I don't know, but the chip was like a larger, crude version of what they really have. Just like when you look at computers, that's a larger, crude version of what they're really working on to make it smaller, smaller, smaller. Hence, nanotech, nanochip, right? But this connects right to optogenetics. That hadn't heard of the word recently till I saw it on Facebook. Because they need, again, they need a something in the subject. The subject has to be altered so that they can directly interface with this secret technology that they have in order for them to achieve what they want to achieve. And I think optogenetics can really play into this. What I like to do is stop this video. I don't know how much memory I have on my phone and my camera. I think it's best if I do this in sections. So let me stop this video here for now and let me continue in part 2. Alright, see you in a bit.